guys, Marty Schwartz here, GuitarJams.com. Gonna bring you a little more intermediate, advanced kind of concept lesson here in the kind of more blues groove vein as you were hearing. It's inspired by some concepts I learned from one of my favorite guitar players named Robben Ford. I talked about him a little bit earlier when I was talking about a clinic that he was having. Well, the clinic happened. It was really great. I got to, be right up front and check out what he was doing, and I'm actually going to have some more video footage from that coming up in another video sometime soon. Also, Robben Ford has his own instructional site called the Guitar Dojo. I'll leave a link right down there and you guys can go over there and check it out. A little more for the intermediate, but it's truly great stuff, and I'm going to show you one of those concepts right now. So we're going to zoom in, and it's basically like a rhythm concept. And you can see I was playing kind of up and down the neck over just a one chord groove. I was playing a G7 chord. And so the concept here, and like I said, we'll zoom in and I'll show you, but the concept is that over a dominant chord, or like that bluesy sounding chord. And for this one I picked a G7. For a G7 chord, there's actually three little major chords or three major triads that can all be superimposed over that G7 chord. And any 7 chord that we shift it to, that same relationship will carry over. So here's the basic concept. Over a G7 chord, and you can dive really deep into the rabbit's hole on this concept because it actually relates to your soloing as well. You could solo using notes from these 3 major chord triads as well. So if I take a G7 chord, which is right there, you can play a G major triad over it. I'm going to show you some different voicings for it. You can play a C major triad, which is the 4 chord of G, but this is all still over G7. You can play a C major, and then you can also play an F major over that G7 chord. And so when you know a handful of different voicings for the same chord, you can do some really interesting comping, which basically is like your rhythm chords and your rhythm voicing. You can get really creative with just playing over a 1 chord kind of thing. So basically, I'll reiterate what I was saying. You take a G7 chord, and you could play a G major over that, a G major triad, a C major triad, or an F major triad. In any order, too. Obviously, it's going to resolve to that G major triad. Also, if you know triad arpeggios, it's going to work the exact same way with your soloing. You can play an F major triad, a G major triad, and a C major triad over a G7 chord as well. All right? So let's zoom in and I'll show you, and just a quick reminder, this legendary guitar player Robben Ford. Every guitar player I know really looks up to the guy, including myself. He's got his own instructional stuff, and I mean, really, he's helped me so much that it's the least I can do to, have you guys at least check it out, especially the guys that are the non-beginners out there, because you can really get a lot from Robben, and he's been a great inspiration. He's played with Miles Davis and Joni Mitchell. He's got an amazing pedigree, and he's a very tasty guitar player. So anyway, let's zoom in, and I'll show you some of these concepts up close. Here we go. So remember, I was saying that you have a G7 chord. And what we want to do is just start looking at some of these major chord triads. And I said over a G7 chord, you can superimpose a G major triad over the G7. And that's going to just look like this. It's like there's a lot of different ways to play it, but we're going to start with what basically looks like an F major kind of triad thing. And so it'd be, which is 5, 4, 3, and then 3 on the high E as well. So remember what I said, over G7 you've got a G, a C, and an F, or a G, an F, and a C. However, in any order you want, it's always going to resolve though to that root triad. But so here's the G major, the F major is a whole step down, And with that same shape, we can go all the way up to where the 8th fret on the high E string is. So if I got same shape over that whole thing. All right, but let's learn another shape now. So this was kind of like the high E root shape. And there's no reason why you wouldn't just want to play the top 3 instead of all 4. You just play the top 3. So that was G, F, C, F, G, F, C, G, F, G, C, F, G. All over that G7 chord. Which also means, you know, if you're playing the single notes. Okay, now let's learn another shape for that major triad. We'll do this. The C major is going to be right here. 5th fret on the G string, 5th fret on the B string, 3rd fret on the high E. That's a C major triad. And you can look at the root is right there on the 5th fret of the G string. So that's a C chord right there. The F chord, the root, is on that G, so wherever F is on the G string is where our F chord is. So we got C, F, which that root is right there on the 10th fret of the G, and then up a whole step where the root is on the 12th fret of the G. So you got a G chord, an F chord, a C chord, that's it. And the C chord's all the way up here too. C, G, F, C, with that shape. And remember that first shape. The second shape. In any combination with a strum or single notes, you're gonna be doing just fine over one dominant chord. Which in the beginning, even when I was playing blues in the beginning, I thought G7 really just meant, and maybe if I knew the one up here. But now, for you guys, it means that, but it also means all those shapes in any combination you want that I just showed you. So watch here, I'll improvise real simply with just those 2 shapes. And all we're playing is G major triads, C major triads, and F major triads.